read. Would I welcome you to do this? I give thanks for Nancy. What I welcome you to do this year, is think about Thanksgiving from a different perspective. Not just about the material, not just about the food you're eating and the family you're with, but I invite you to think about what's behind that. That one power, that one presence, that spirit that is behind all living things. And as we focus on that, Thanksgiving will take on a whole nother level for us as we move forward. Here at Unity, we've done something really, really, really I'm proud of. I showed last week Carol taking a check to Pastor Leah for $500. This week she took another one for $1,000. And $1,500 that this community brought forth will create a hot Thanksgiving meal for 347 people in Harrisburg. And when Carol has a list, it's amazing. There's families speaking Swahili and Spanish and French, and one Vietnamese family of 12 were serving. And I was so taken. Carol says to me, she said, because numbers were never her big thing. Now she's our treasurer. Spirit at work. I said, last Sunday we had 70 people in this sanctuary. We're feeding 5 times the number of people were here. I mean, I like to get it in context and perspective. This is huge, the number of people. And we call this love in action, because you can talk about love, you can read about love, but until you put it in action, it has no meaning. And we put it in action. 347. You all made this happen. Let's give ourselves a hand. I'm so proud of what we're doing. And so is Pastor Leah. She's just blown away by the folks here at Unity in Harrisburg. The tithe revisited. You know, every time you use that word in, it's a 5-letter word in Unity, tithe. But we're going to look at it and take a real look. This came out of the annual meeting. It's just Tuesday night, December 10th, here in the sanctuary, because we're going to use PowerPoint, and we're going to use Amiibo so that it's recorded, that we can make it available for those who can't get here. And we kind of have, and I'm going right the whole way back to where tithe first showed up. And we're going to look at the history, and then we're going to start understanding the words. Words are very important to have understanding. What does a tithe mean? What does giving mean? And then the last part of it, we're going to shut the Amiibo down, and we're going to have a discussion as a community. Where we go from here, what's important for us to do? Do we want to tithe? Do we want to give? Where to? And from that meeting, then I'm hoping that we can come with some ideas, go back to the board meeting the following week in December, and going into 2020, we will have a community decision. And as I keep saying, I only get one vote. So it's going to be our decision of what we do here going forward in Unity Harrisburg. So I invite you, if you can be here, I'm going to try not to make it boring and move it quickly, the background, but I think it's important that we understand the words, what they mean, and then how are we going to apply them here at Unity Harrisburg. So that'll be Tuesday night, December 10th, right here in the sanctuary. Okay, number 3, your money beat, B-E-A-T. I know Cecilia back there has been selling out of books every week. Somebody said last Sunday, you ought to be getting commission. I said, I don't. But I don't know, we've sold maybe 50 or more books. I hope you're reading these books. This is not a book to put on the shelf. This is a book to tear apart, to do the work, to do the self-assessments. And if you're not, you're cheating yourself. You're not getting your $21 worth. Because these self-assessments start to uncover. And some of the emails and some of the texts I've got in the last couple of weeks is, oh my goodness, I had no idea that this stuff was stuck away down there. And we're working through some, especially whoever your MVP is, as you're doing the work, you're going to find stuff showing up for sure. That's the book. And the author will be here, as I said earlier, December 8th in the morning for the service, and then 12 to 2. Really, I'm serious. Invite your friends. This woman is dynamite. And she is coaching at the highest level. I think I said the first day that I was here, her fee was $5,000 a talk. And she's agreed to come here for $200. So don't miss this opportunity. You know, I talked about the trains leaving the station. Sometimes these things show up and they don't come back. And you don't want to miss them. This is one of those I think you'll be very, very pleased that you did. Invest the money and invest your time. So here's where we are. Next week is the last piece of this. We go into focus and desire, finish it up. And I'm so thrilled with some of the things that I'm getting back and what's opening up for a lot of people. This motto you've seen before, I've been talking about this energy vortex and where are we and the low levels moving to the higher levels. It's now applied to the vibe model, vibe being your vibration or the essence of your consciousness. And we're going to talk about that at a different level today and how to begin to change it in a very conscious way. Because you and I, if we are not aware how we got our vibe, it's an unconscious thing. You know, in all the studies we've done, we know most of it's in place by the time we're 7. And then it gets added to and it's brought in. So we're looking to consciously move up the vibe model. So here's your vibes. Level 1, blaming everything and everybody, always externally focused, a victim. I don't know about you, but I was there once, and it doesn't feel good, does it? And I don't know about you, but I have family members or friends that are still there. It doesn't feel so good to be around them either. But this is level 1, and if you're seeing it in yourself, and look, here's the way I see these vortexes. We move. One day we're higher in a vortex, next day it's whatever happened. It's like, what happened to that? And we're down in a different place. And it's kind of this spiral that we go through on the vibe. But that's level 1, and you can find very quickly, am I still looking external to me to blame for what's going on? And you could take the word money and change it. It could be your health, it could be relationships, it could be happiness, peace. Level 2, as we begin to move up, this is when we begin to focus on trying to change the external. This is where PMA, positive mental attitude, starts. This is where we do vision boards and all those things. All good work. All part of going from level 1 to level 2. And we've done these in Unity for years. But it doesn't stop there. These are only steps up. And level 3 is to focus on, we begin to focus on changing the internal dialogue, the internal beliefs, our emotions, attitudes, and thoughts. And when you're doing that, when you're in that kind of work, you know what level you're in now. You're in level 3. My experience in all of this, and most people that I've coached, no one gets the jump from 1 to 4. Sorry. It'd be nice. You know, everybody wants Paul's experience, right? He's out killing all the Christians and then whap, light hits him and now he's a perfect saint. I haven't seen that happen. I don't know about you. Maybe it did happen for you. But it certainly didn't happen for me. I have to work at this every day and look to move up in the vibe model. And finally, we reach level 4, and the internal vibe is completely changed and we are in an awakened state. So we go from the victim, we're using money here. Again, you can put anything besides money. From victim to awakened, this is the journey. This, to me, is why I became a minister at Unity. And I hope it's the reason why you attend here. Every day we're looking to go higher in that vortex to get to that place where it all is happening. Our vibe is created by our beat. Now, none of this is new. I say this all the time, one truth, many voices. But what Jackie Woodside has done very well here for us is given us a structure that we can hang with. Jack and I use this language all the time. Dan, where's your vibe today? Yeah, I need some work, don't I? Well, I know where to go, my beat. my belief, my emotions, my attitudes, my thoughts. And if I go there and start asking empowering questions, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, because your life, destiny, and future is determined by the questions you ask yourself. That's what moves us out of status quo. That's what moves us out of the same old that we're locked into and can't move from. You've seen this before. Stop. Don't go any further till you do the work. I met this wonderful person and had some great conversations about a little over a year ago. And what I love about Courtney is she began to do this work a year plus ago. And every once in a while I'd get emails from her, and last Tuesday at the Tuesday class, she whipped out her little book and was talking to us about how she has implemented and done all the work. And I put her on the spot because it was so beautiful what she's doing. And I told her it's so much more powerful than the minister to stand here and talk to you. It's someone who's implementing these. And I asked her, I put her on the spot, I said, would you share that briefly with everyone on Sunday? And she looked at me and goes, yeah. So I'm going to ask Courtney to come up and just briefly tell you what she's doing and what's happening in her life because she's implementing these. Courtney, please. If you would stand over here, so we want you on film.
So many of you know that I started my own business a little over a year and a half ago, and it's been slow going. I also lost my tenant, which was my source of income until the business got going, and that made it even slower going. But last year when Dan was talking about tithing and about us tithing in the church and growing the church, I went back to Edwene Gaines' book, and it only has 4 steps to it. It's not that many, it's 4. You don't even need 2 hands to count them. And I realized I had stopped at writing down my goals and what I wanted. So I went back to that book and wrote down some of the goals. Well, one of the goals at that time was growing my business. And she asked for something, be specific. What exactly do you want? So when I wrote down one of the goals, I put growing my business to sales equaling between 2 and 5, however many zeros after it is irrelevant. But the 2 and 5 is what is important. That week, my sales started with a 7. And I realized, okay, you got to do the work. You can't just, like Dr. Carroll had said one time, you can't just get the book and put it on the shelf and dust it every once in a while. You have to actually read the books. So once you read the books, then you have to actually do something with it. Well, in the Money Vibe class, Reverend Dan gave us a sheet of 15 statements and what to do with them. And I took that paper and using those tools in your toolbox, what I did with it was I take that page to the inside of my medicine cabinet. So every morning when I'm brushing my teeth, I open the door, and as I'm brushing my teeth, I recite those 15 statements. I also wrote them down in my notebook. So when I'm having breakfast or having tea in the afternoon or whatever I'm doing and I'm taking a break, I write them down, and as I write each statement, I repeat it. Again, emphasizing what it is that I'm looking for. It also asks you to write down any divine flow that happens to you, little surprises and gifts and things that pop up that you don't think are really important. But all of those little tiny things add up. As an example, I now have a tenant, yay. And when I was asking for a tenant, I didn't care if it was a guy or a woman. I didn't care if they were at the beginning of their business phase or having reinvented themselves again like I have. I didn't care what the business was. I just kept asking for the right and perfect tenant. I had several people come in that really wanted the space, and I thought this would be good, and it didn't work out. Christina is marvelous. We get along very well. We're working together on the space. She called the township this past week and had to call me right afterwards. She called the township to find out what paperwork she needed to open the business, what permits she needed for, et cetera, et cetera. One of them was the sign. Well, last year when I had called the zoning officer, he said, oh, well, if there's two businesses, you have to have two permits. Well, that's $100 a piece, plus the sign. She called him and he said, well, you already had a sign up from the previous business, so you guys don't need to have a permit. You can just put up the sign. Small things. And that's the point, is all of those little things accumulate and add up. And it's working it and having those tools in your toolbox. And you're not going to use them every day, or every single one every day, but it's repetitively doing it over and over and getting that mindset into your consciousness. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Betty. I told you she was a whole lot better than me. Keep talking. If you keep doing the work, you could end up on the board, right, Courtney? A couple community meetings ago, I was sitting there and Jeff was reading, it had to do with the parking lot, and Jeff was reading something that Courtney had sent in. She wasn't going to be at the meeting. And I said under my breath, I thought to myself, she's a minister in making. And Helen King was across the table and looked at me with a twinkle in her eye. She said, Dan, no, she's a minister. I said, you're right. So thank you, Courtney, for sharing and everything that you're doing. I'm so impressed. Okay, the only way to truly have financial freedom is to create a new money vibe. Do you believe that's true? It is. And the only person who can create a new money vibe is you. I can't do it for you. No one else can. And that's what this is about today. Changing the money vibe, open you up. And again, you can put anything else in there that you want for money, but this is what we're talking about in these 4 weeks. Our current beat again is belief, emotion, attitude, and thoughts. Our current beat is based on our past, created unconsciously. It just came in, you were a sponge to whatever your parents said, whatever the priest said, whatever the minister said, whatever the rabbi said. Most of it before the time you were 7. And it's still there, unless you consciously changed your beat. To change our vibe, we must change the location of our identity. A whole bunch of us still have an identity to the past. We talk about the past. Every time you talk about the past, you rob yourself of the present moment and all the magic that's there. Check yourself. Self-assessment. Know thyself, said the Delphi Temple. How do you know yourself? Take out a little notebook like Courtney has and take a day and mark a little check mark for every time you talked or thought about the past. Or if you're a worrier and you have fear and you're anxious, every time you talk about that. And at the end of the day, you're going to go, I can't believe that I talked that much about the past or the future. We have to change the location of our identity from the past and the unconscious vibe of the BEAT. And unless we make that transition, you will have no transformation. You know, I go back to Reverend Joy. Everybody wants to be transformed. Nobody wants to change. We talk about change here because it's what you got to do to be transformed. Or otherwise, you're going to be the same a year from now at Thanksgiving. You're going to look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh my God, I'm the same thing I was in 2019. The universe is growing 12% in every direction every year. If you're not growing in consciousness and your vibe 12%, you're falling behind. Nobody here, I believe, wants to fall behind. I know I don't. I actually want to get ahead of the 12%. But you get to choose that. How do we do that? We do the release work and the forgiveness of our unconscious past. Whatever's showing up in these self-assessments, you've got the tools. Release it, forgive it. Forgive yourself. You know, one of the things that I teach on Tuesday nights is the Ho'oponopono prayer. And then I put it to tapping. I'm sorry, but I start it differently than they do. I start with, I love you. I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. It's a one way of forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Giving love for what? The old unconscious beat that you have no use for anymore. And you want to move to a new place. And as we change that identity from the past, what do? We create and embrace our conscious present, which then becomes our future. If we're continuing to talk and go back to the past, what do? We bring the past to the present, and it continues to create our future. You know, I know nobody in here does that, but you know people who do that. And they're stuck on the hamster wheel and never change. Why? Because they don't change their beat. And so therefore their vibe never gets changed. Their consciousness, their energy. So how do we begin to do this? We must master our thinking. This is the way Jackie does it. There's many ways. But we first have to identify, disempower, and then transform. Don't you like that? I had fun with PowerPoint this week. I never did that before. Made arrows move around. I said, this is too cool. Doesn't take much to get me excited. But we have to identify, we have to disempower, and then we have to transform. She calls it the IDT process. This is an important process because you can consciously change any beat that you have, belief, emotion, attitude, or thought. And this is the process that you do that. And every time you do it, you transform and go higher into the vibe model. Identify. Become. What's the number one thing we have to do to transform and change? Chapter 1. You all forgot already? Awareness. You have to become self-aware, or you're going to continue to live in your unconscious past. And the way you do that is you begin to observe what you do. What do you think? What do you feel? What do you say? What do you do? And in that, you begin to identify your unconscious beat. So the first step is always awareness. Go the whole way back to Delphi Temple. Know thyself. The only way to know thyself is to become self-aware. Hear what's going on in your head. Hear what you say to other people. Stop yourself. Don't go to the habitual pattern of talking about the past, because you're just going to keep bringing everything that you have right now. So disempower, you begin to talk back. Who's the master here? Your mind or you? Say no. No more. No mas. No more. I'm not doing this anymore. That's exactly how I talk to it. And some of us want to be really nice and kind and sweet. No. No. I'm not doing this anymore. You're the only one who can do this, to begin to disempower and move from the old. You must begin asserting mastery over your BEAT, all your beliefs, all your emotions, all your attitudes and your thoughts. That's when you begin to change, which leads to transformation. Challenge it by asking empowering questions. Is this what I really want for my life? Is it? What do I really want? These were the same questions. I want you to know we live this. These are the questions the board asked after the annual meeting. Is this what we want for Unity of Harrisburg? What do we want for it? We're better than this. And you can only begin to get change if you're willing to have the courage to begin to face what's in front of you. Awareness, awareness, awareness is number one. And if you're not willing to be aware, what are you? You're in denial. That's a river over there. We're not going down denial. But awareness takes you to a place that then you can begin to ask these questions of yourself. Let yourself feel the lower energy. If you're in the lower vibe, feel it. We've been taught not to feel, have we not? Big boys don't cry. I wanted to cry, I was hurt. No, you don't cry, you're a big boy. What happens to our emotions when we do that? They go stuff them. Now I know nobody here does that, but I did. I learned how to wear a persona, the mask. And we end up doing that sometimes in unity, do we not? Oh, I must be very spiritual and look like everything's perfect. No, it's not. If it was perfect for you, you wouldn't be here. You'd have taken off to the next level. I can tell you I'm not perfect because I'm still here. Well, this is the planet of lessons. This is the planet of the work to do. Feel the emotions. And you are not Humpty Dumpty, and you will not fall off the wall, and you can be put back together again. That's a lie. Emotions are energy in motion. Let it motion through you. And what happens? You become free. You stand in the light. You stand in spirit. Authenticity, honesty, transparency is what takes us to knowing truth that sets us free. Not putting on a mask and showing up at Unity Harrisburg looking like the perfect lunatic. That doesn't cut it. What cuts it is getting real. Feel it. And when you feel it, you can heal it. But when you deny it, you cannot. One of the things that she talks about in the book, which I love, is have a vision within yourself. You know, I gave you one this morning that I have, my gel train. Living in grace with ease and lightness. I have a vision for that. And I can go to that because that's my vision for Unity Harrisburg for 2020. Have a vision that takes you to a place of what you want. Here's some suggestions. Go to the ocean in your mind. Or how about the forest? Or maybe a waterfall. Or a lotus plant. It doesn't matter, but it has to be something for you that you can see in your mind's eye. You can take a deep breath, expel the emotions that you're feeling, and go to your happy place. And as you begin to connect with the vision of that, you begin to feel the emotions of the good. Everyone should have one of these places. And what I've learned in my experience is that the more I go there, the stronger it gets. And the feeling, the emotion that I feel gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So the question is, can your brain be rewired from the past beat? And the answer is absolutely, unequivocally, yes. The science is called neuroplasticity. The brain has ability to rewire. We've studied all this with all the science books that we did in the last 2 years. Who rewires your brain consciously? You do. That's the most exciting news of living in 2020 there is. Because you don't have to live out of the past anymore. You don't have to live out of those old unconscious beats that create your vibe, which makes your life. You get to change it, all of it, in any way that you want. Don't try to fake it, though, or suppress it, because that ain't real. And all you do is stuff it down into Pandora's box. If you have a Pandora's box, you know what I'm talking about. It's the one where you put a lock on and I'm never going there. And I'll do coaching with people, and it's like, we can talk about anything, go anywhere but there. I said, well, there's where you need to go. You got to open Pandora's box and let it out. But we have been taught to wear that persona, to wear that mask of the perfect person and stuff our real feelings into Pandora's box. And when you do, here's what's happened. Emotions buried alive never die. They just show up in a different pair of shoes. We have all experienced this, like, daggum, I did that before, and here it is again. It shows back up. It shows back up because you buried the emotions and didn't let them, and didn't change them. And they're going to show up in another person. Your mom's going to show up in your spouse, or your boyfriend, or girlfriend, or child, or your boss. And if you've got unreleased stuff in your beat, you will get what? Another chance to do it different. But you get to choose. Do I want to do it different? Or do I want to do it again the same way and go around that horn and say, okay, here we are again? It shows up. Observe it, detach from it. It feels like a lower vibe. It feels like anger. It feels like depression. Not I am depressed. That's owning it and making it yours. Push it away. Detach. It feels like sadness. Then I can look at it and say, okay, you know what? That isn't so bad. I'm going to feel sad. And this is exactly what I do. I sit down in a chair and say, okay, I'm going to feel what sadness feels like. And I turn around and I go a minute or two later, it's like, where'd it go? It's energy in motion. Don't stop it. Let it flow through you. It is spirit on spirit wings. Energy in motion never dies. It keeps going. Don't you take it in and make it yours unless you want it. But if you don't want it, let it go. Say, okay, there goes sadness. Bye. And it will flow right through. You are so much stronger than you know you are. You can feel all of this and release it. And next step, what happens? When you release it, it flows through. Spirit starts to flow again. That's how we move to transformation. Being authentic, being real, being honest, being transparent. And allowing ourselves to feel what we were told never feel. This is a little hard to read, but it's about the universe bringing us our vibe. It's about the universe bringing to us our vibration, our energy. Bless you. That's why it's so important to monitor your own vibe. It's so important how you show up here at Unity Harrisburg. It's so important how you show up at home. It's so how important you show up in the energy for your friends. Because your vibe is bringing you more life exactly the way your vibe is. It's quantum physics. Like attracts like. And that's why we have to stay so diligent and aware of what's going on. Vibrate so high that the toxic people in your life fall back because they no longer know how to approach it. Get on the spirit train. Think, feel, talk only about what you want for your life. And all the other ones begin to fall back. There's no room on your train anymore for toxic people. Unless that's what you want in your life, and you can choose that. I know I don't. I want to live in gel, in grace, in ease, and lightness. Another way is to change is gratitude journals, gratefulness. How many of you here have ever heard about doing a gratitude journal? All of us. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand for the next one. How many of you do 5 things you're grateful for every morning in your journal? The number's a little less, by a lot. Jackie Woodside started in 1987. She was homeless. And the first thing she did is every day after that, she wrote 5 things she was grateful for. And she had days that she could only be grateful for the air to breathe and the sun that came up. But the discipline to do these things make huge changes over time. You know, everybody wants the quick fix pill. There is none. You have to take every day and you do slow, short, whatever you need to do. There is no one in this room that is that busy that you can't write down 5 things every day. Now I said write it, don't think. Write down 5 things every day that you are grateful for. And you begin to do what? You begin to change your vibe to a vibe of gratitude. Like attracts like. Gratitude changes everything. And the last piece of this is about the power of belief, and I put in here faith or confidence in. When Jesus said, you're healed by your faith, he could have said you're healed by your belief, or you're healed by what you have confidence in. All the same words. But whatever your belief is part of your beat will determine what your life is, and this is how. Your beat becomes your vibe attracts your life. And if you have faith, belief, or confidence in total health, you're going to experience total health. And if not, you know where to go back. You can begin to say, ask the questions of the divine. I don't know the answers, but I know where to go for them all. What's in my belief that's holding me back here? Those are empowering questions. What's in my emotions right now that's stopping all the good to come to me, or my attitudes, or my thoughts? And guess what? Shut up and listen. And you and I get directed by the divine because we ask the question. Ask, you will receive. But we don't ask. Oh, let me figure it out with my little limited brain. No, we have all of it. The divine wisdom to tell us exactly what to do. But we have to do the questions, we got to listen, and then we got to do what? Action. So my question to you today, do you have any self-limiting beliefs about money? If you do, change them now. You got to change them all. Don't let one stand. Jackie says this, what is true for you is what you believe. You know, we like to throw around this thing, well, knowing truth sets us free. But let me tell you something, if you set truth for yourself that's not true, it will not create freedom. It will create bondage. So watch. You know, she said this, I think, in the last chapter. Don't fall into the trap to believe everything you think. Because everything you think ain't true. You ever notice that? And how it changes. The whole world believed the earth was flat. The church people proved it, the scientists proved it, the politicians proved it, the whole world believed it was flat. And even when it was round, in 2019, we still have people believing it's flat. People will believe what people will believe. It's not always true. Challenge everything. Awareness, number one, challenge every belief you have. Your most important task is to uncover every limiting belief you have about money. Take money and you put anything you want in there. What's the limiting belief about health? What's your limiting belief about relationships? What's your limiting belief about anything in your life? And you're going to be right back to your beat, which is creating your vibe, which is creating your life. Those are empowering questions. What is limiting me? I don't want it anymore. No mas. And oh, this one. This is the one that'll make me run when someone comes to me in coaching or whatever and says, why me? And I'm like, phew. If you're still asking that question, you are so locked in victim mentality or victim mode that you haven't even begun to do the work. I don't think I can help them. This is the most disempowering question you can ever ask. Why me, Lord? I don't know, looking up, looking down, all around. Why not? You created it. What are you reaching out to me and praying to change it for? No, I'm not going to change that. It's the wrong question. Stop asking why me. That's as low on the totem pole of level 1 victim mentality that you can be. Why me? I'll give you the answer. Here's a $64,000 answer. Because you chose it and you created it. Now we can get to work. Start moving up. Instead, begin to ask these kind of questions. What do I believe about this situation that's causing my difficulty? Ownership, personal responsibility, empowering questions. What about this? Can I change? Totally different questions. And Jackie said this, and she coaches hundreds of thousands of people over her career, and she said, in doing this work, most discomfort comes from these two beliefs. There won't be enough, and I'm not enough. I'm not smart enough, I'm not fast enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not enough. Yes, you are. You're the allness of the universe. That's a lie. And there won't be enough. You got it all. But those are the two disempowering beliefs that she says show up most. The ego likes to confound things, does it not? So begin to ask. Don't let that happen. Ask these kind of questions. Does this support me any longer? If the answer is no, get rid of it, or the person. Do I want to continue in this way? These are empowering questions that allow you to get open to source to come to you and begin to give you direction. Now here's the biggie. Can you believe you can become a millionaire? I want you to be aware of just what happened inside. I suspect some resistance came up. But you know me, I always like to push the envelope, right? So we go to another question. Can you believe you are a multimillionaire? And I define multi as having more than 2 million. That's multi. Why not? It's a belief. Why have you chosen to limit it? Who told you you had to do that? Who taught you how to do that? Why not? It's only a belief. Why believe something less than that? I don't. But I choose a different belief. I'm becoming a multimillionaire. And so can you. But you got to start with awareness, and you got to start with, and I don't care what age you are, it has nothing to do with it. It has to do with belief. And there's many people in history that have made things happen and way late into their 80s. And start a new business and watch what happened. But they started with a belief that they could. And if you don't have this belief, you can't. So here again is the vibe model, moving up level by level by level. The self-assessments on page 173, 175, don't miss. These are really important because what she does is she contrasts it. Here's high vibe statements, here's low vibe. Feel what's going on inside. Say, whoa, circle that one. Well, I better go back to that one. And you're going to very quickly go through that list and you're going to identify where in your beat are things being stirred up because it's like, wow, I can't buy it. No, not for me. And that will tell you exactly what's happening. Do this work. And last, Dalai Lama said, money's good. It's important. Without money, daily survival, not to mention further development, is impossible. If the Dalai Lama says it, it's good. It's spiritual. And don't let us continue any longer with lack and limitation that somebody else told us we need to believe. Create your own Money Vibe Manifesto. Jackie has on pages 180, 182, 8 of them. It's a good structure. You could use hers if you want, but make them your own. Put your own words in. A manifesto is, I believe this. I believe this. I believe this. In your Money Vibe book, your notebook, make sure that you finish this. Because you begin to tell the universe and yourself, this is my new beat. And it will create my new vibe. And again, it'll create my new life. Mastery. It's the intersection of your beat, your beliefs, your emotions, your attitudes, and your thoughts with the actions that you take will lead you to mastery of your life. If you don't take the actions, and you can tell, you can look in the mirror today when you go home and look and say, did I do all the work? Have I done all the self-assessment? Have I done all the high vibe and low vibe? If you haven't, you are not taking the action to make this happen. You're sitting there again just listening. A week from here, you won't, I could sit down and ask you the question of some of these slides and you'd have no idea what I was talking about. Do not let it go by. The train's out of the station. It may not come back for you. Focus and attention into action is what creates change which transforms your life. Let's go to silence. And I've asked Kate to we'll just do it without music today so she can participate. She doesn't get to do that sometimes. This is a meditation that I wrote for a Tuesday night class and then modified it for today. So take a couple deep breaths. And if it's comfortable for you, close your eyes and then just listen. This is communication to you from the higher consciousness. There is a fountain of love within you, and from it flows the fulfillment of all you can desire. The light substance to bring every form into visibility. The fountain is never in disrepair. Its operation is eternally perfect, and its power source is my love for you. A love so great that it is beyond your comprehension. The flow from this fountain is endless and bountiful. Will you not stand in the stream with me now and eradicate all appearances of lack in your life? Come to me. Come within and feel the rushing waters of infinite supply. Indeed, your cup runneth over. There is no emptiness in my universe, no shortages, no limitations. All is forever filled full. Can you understand that I am the fountain and the flow and the fulfillment? I am the all. Can you now interpret this as the source, the cause, and the effect? I am the all. Now consider this carefully, for it's very important. There is something between me and your experience in the physical world. It's your ego. It's your belief in lack and limitation. It's your practice of judgment, criticism, and complaining. It's your willingness to create discord and disharmony. It's your vibe. It's your consciousness. Your world mirrors that which is closest to it. Therefore, your world is reflecting your consciousness, your vibe. If you would have your world reflect my nature of loving, lavish, opulent sufficiency, I must be brought into your consciousness, into your vibe, even to the outer rim, so to speak. There, I stand before your world, and truth is revealed. No good is then withheld from you, but you must not direct or prescribe the way. I am the way. Leave it in my hands. Be as a little child in joyful anticipation, keeping your thoughts on me, caring, trusting, loving me. I am the way. And so it is.